find a new artist. We find a new art.
Hi, welcome to this live. Welcome. I don't know if there's anyone right now at the moment, but hi, my name is Julie. If you don't know me, I'm one of the person responsible for the Q&A section in Paintover. And basically I've been I've been unable to do live for a few months, but right now I'll be able to go back to it. And it's been a very long time since the last time that I actually been doing a live, but I'll do it again right now, and let's go. Okay, so there is only 2 people who ask feedback today, so I'm gonna be able to go a little bit more thoroughly through it, you know, and try to actually go a little bit deeper. So, okay, let's start. The first one is from Clove. This is a really nice piece. And Clove said, after I finished this painting, I used watercolor in my sketchbook and overlaid it onto the painting to add texture. Okay, got it. And I think it brings a lot of life to the painting, but I wasn't sure if it was too little color or too much. Okay, I see what you mean. Honestly, I think it brings a lot of just the right amount. So, to me, I think you did a great job on this part. I want to start experimenting with color more, and I want it to be a bit messy and loose, but I don't want it to look too crazy, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I get it. For that, I suggest use a textured brush. I think it's the best for that, and it will help you to add this little, you know, textury kind of grainy effect that you want to have, and you can do that while you paint. Directly, I mean on your computer, or you can do that on top of your colors, and I will show you how. Any feedback you can give me to help improve this painting is very much appreciated. Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I absolutely love what you did with the, you know, the, how do you call it, the chromatic aberration that you played there. I think it's lovely, it works wonderful, and it's a very it's very interesting and fun, so good job on that. For the part that I think I can help you improve, I think it would be to unclog, to lower the how deep the shadows are, because right now you have almost like a pure black. Yeah, it is basically a pure black, sorry, and so I think it kind of flatten everything out, and you would gain from actually having a little bit of warmth in your shadows. So I'm gonna start working on here like that. As you can see, here you can even there like that, just a bit, and eventually to also have a bit of subsurface scattering, where your shadow is actually touching the light, I think it would help, and it will be a good complementary element with your chromatic aberration. So I think it would work wonderful with that. You can also play with it a little bit with very strange color, like this, because again, it will work with your chromatic aberration. What I would suggest is instead of using too much black, because right now as I'm looking at it, I see there's a lot of warm color. Like this is a red. Here it's a beige. Even though it's desaturated, it's still a beige. Here it's again a red. And when I look at your drawing, what I can see is that you have almost every aspect of your color on the warm side of the color spectrum. And if you want to make things more interesting, more appealing to the eyes, more harmonic, you have to add a little bit of cool value. So adding a little bit of purplish in your shadows, for example, or adding with what you did with the green is great, or adding, for example, here I'm gonna make the highlights purple instead of just white, like this there. And I don't know if you see what I mean. I think it brings a lot of a dimension to what you're doing. Of course, you have to be careful with how much you use. You have to not overuse it, but it's always a good idea to add a little bit of cool color, not too saturated, of course, in your shadows, and it will helps your painting feel more balanced, if that makes sense. For example, here I'm gonna there like that, there, a little bit too intense, thank you, there too. Otherwise, I think you did a pretty good job, almost everywhere. So yeah, what I would change would be, again, this is a pure black and it lacks a lot of color and it creates this kind of muddy effect. You need to be a little bit warmer when you paint the skin, the shadow of the skin. You need to even go a little bit too warm, because it's hard to overkill it, Obviously you can, but it's easier to make it look muddy rather than too saturated. So I suggest that you use more warmth color, and also that you use maybe more of a orangey tone when you do the highlights on the skin, because even skin is reflective, but not to the point where it will lose color, because when you're painting a subject, you need to take into consideration the fact that your subject has a specific color, and so when you have something which is very high in reflectivity, it will lose the color that it has and will become completely white. For example, this is what happens with mirrors or with a droplet, a water drop. But if you have something which is a little bit which is matte or mate, I don't know how matte, I think, you will still have the color as it is, and eventually you will have little spots, but not pure white. As you can see, it's still pretty saturated in color. If I show you here, you see it's still pretty here and not right there, So yeah, I suggest that you take that you be careful about that. So yeah, here and here I will there doing a warm transition to bring back the warmth, you know. Again, keeping the color. A little bit of purple, you know, desaturated. Again, here same. And again, you use pure white, so I'm gonna make sure that there's still color in there. And I will... There is something that you can do also, is you can add a color layer on top. And you can use a very saturated color in the transition between the light and the shadow, and it will bring back a lot of warmth. So yeah, and okay, let's see before, after. Yeah, see how more alive she look. Do you know what I mean? Add a little bit more of purplish right there. I like the use of the green that you have right here. It's not technically a green, but it looks green because it's so desaturated compared to the red around it. And I think it's a nice touch. You can add different color in those areas. It will, again, it will be nice because you will have a little bit of cool color next to warm color, and it will bring a lot of dimension to your painting. I also see that you used a little bit of, I think, pink to shade your t-shirt, which is white. I wonder why. It's okay, you can, but generally speaking, when we have like when we have a white t-shirt, we generally use more of a grayish color, to grayish or yellowish color to shade it. But again, this is just generally speaking. You can use whatever color you want. In the end, it's the beauty of art after all. Okay, so I'm gonna use a little bit of purple blue here. You know, saturating the shadows here, there. You can also, for example, try to mimic the reflection of the light, because here, even though it's in the shadow, maybe in your reference it wasn't like this, but it's something that can happen. You can have your light, you know, bouncing back right here, and since your light seems to be quite warm, you can add a little bit of, you know, light, just a touch here, to make it seems like the light is bouncing on the underneath of the face. There. And what I would do now is add a color dodge, and I will make a little bit of bloom, just so the color is like not staying in the same place completely, and it have this kind of glow, you know. there. When you make something which has a very strong lighting, I suggest you use this technique, which is to add a color dodge on top, because it creates this bloom, this very, you know, soft, dense, soft and airy kind of vibe. I don't know if you know what I mean. And it creates the idea that there is actually that the light is not simply, you know, on one spot, like it's not simply here, for example. It's also a little bit here, you know, and a little bit here, less and less and less and less, and so it helps convey the idea that the light is real. Here. I actually take the time to repaint a little bit more than if we were more, because I have the time for that. So it's really nice to actually be able to push it a little bit further than usual. What I will do is to actually correct a little bit the anatomy of the face, because there's some stuff which are a little bit incorrect. So I'm gonna merge it, and then I'm gonna go to fluidity, and I will change a few things. For example, if you look at it, you will see that her eyes are going that way, and her jaw is going that way, and her smile is going that way, and her nose is going that way. So the jaw is a little bit off. Okay. And I think I will, make the face a little bit longer, just a tad. Move a bit the nose. here she's lacking a bit of skull. So yep. Let's see. Yeah, okay, better. I'm gonna turn again, so I will be able to see the things that I wasn't able to see in the first place when it was on this side. There. I would also suggest something else is you can add a little bit of attention to her lips, because obviously the very scary smile is supposed to bring attention to it, and so you can add even more attention to it by adding, for example, a purplish tone like that, and to add a very, very strong highlight. Like this. There. And there you go. I'm gonna also add a little bit of color here. Yeah, it's something which is very, very important when you paint, is keep in mind the color of your subject. Except if the color is completely like super, super hard, you're gonna have to keep a little bit of the color of your subject. For example, if I do a bowl like this and I make it red, if I light it, I won't pick like a white and add white like that, you know. It's gonna completely wash away the color of my object, and it's not how it works in nature. Look at, for example, an apple. Put it underneath the sun, and even though it's a direct light, you will still continue to see it completely red. You will eventually see a little bit, for example, of lighting like that, for example, like there is a shadow, you know, and obviously that way, and you will eventually see, for example, a little speck right here. Something white or some reflection here and there, but you'll still be able to see the whole reflection, the whole color of your subject. So I would suggest that you do that, and eventually, if you want to add a little bit more dimension to your highlight, for example, you can add the overlay setting on Photoshop and take a quite dark color, and as you can see, you will still bring light on your subject, but more in a more subtle way, you know. So yeah. I think I corrected it the best that I could right now, and I hope it was helpful, that you learned some stuff. And so yeah, little before after, so before and after. You know what? I think there's a quick fix I can do, sorry, which is this is going a little bit up. I think it's okay if it's that way, there. Okay. Let me see, yeah, better, okay. So I hope it was helpful, Clove, and that you will be able to see this video, so you can try to improve a little bit better your next drawing. Okay, so on to the second person who asked me feedback, which is Georgia. So, hi Georgia, thank you for showing me your work. So, what you're saying is, hi Julie, hi Georgia. For last month brief, I've been really struggling to render the hair and the clouds, and was wondering if you could give me any tips. Thanks. Sure. I can do that. First of all, I would like to say that you took a subject which is a little bit hard, even though you did wonders in the shading of the skin, because obviously this is a very soft lighting that you have on your reference, and so it's gonna be obviously harder to see where the light is and everything. But basically for hair, you have to think of it like ribbons. Basically, for example, you have this string of hair, and you have to think of it like, okay, so this is just like a ribbon, so it means that this will be in the shadow, you know, it's underneath, and this will be a little bit in the shade too, and there will be, you know, just a tad of light right here, you know, with a specular, and then you will have again a bit of shadow and another speck, and again shadow. So it's basically just like you would do with anything else, you know, just a simple object. And once you have something of that sort, you know, what you can do is actually add strings, you know, inside, like separation, for example, like this, or, you know, like that. There you go. And you can also try to add single hair, which works, which do not follow completely the same path than the rest, and give them special color in themselves. For example, let's do one like here, you know. And basically that's how you do hair. You think first in big masses, and by big masses I mean flat surface, or it's what you started to do right here, for example. And then you cut it, and you have to place, just like what you start doing, you have to place your light, and you have to place them correctly, like there, and place them in shape or block. It will be easier. And then you have to build things slowly and surely, and be patient, especially when you have very curly hair, because it's gonna take a while. And so yeah, it's basically it. And there you go. There. One of the methods that I use to actually paint is a technique that I learned by observing the work of Loish. She has this way of painting shapes, where, for example, for a shadow, she will draw this and then she will paint inside of it. And I think it's a wonderful way to actually combine the idea of shading and shapes, because sometimes it's way easier to just put a shape somewhere. And I try to use a quite hard brush for that, because it's easier to work with. And when I'll do the transition, then I will switch to a little bit softer kind of brush. And so yeah, it's just that over and over again until everything is shaded. And so it takes patience. Also, you can add a little something at the end. First, focus completely on, okay, so this string of hair is this color, this string of hair is this color, etc., etc. And then at some point, you can just select your whole hair, like this. And what you will do, just trying to be quick on the selection right now. There. Okay, and what you will do is that you will look at where your light is coming from. In this case, it's coming from that way. And you will look at the color of your light. In your case, it's white, but I'm gonna just warm it a tad, like this. And then you add in a layer, like in overlay or color dodge, you add a little bit of that lighting on the side of your hair, which is supposed to be a little bit more lit. And you add another layer in product, not product, it's I forgot, no, I think it's product, no, it's multiply, my bad. And you add a little bit of shade in the area where the opposite of your lighting. And so what it will do in the end is create this effect right here. As you can see, this just shows where the light is coming from. And if you do that on top of your basic shading, you know, light here, shadow is here, highlight is here, etc., etc., it will bring a 3D it will bring the total 3D dimension experience. Just a quick example on an object, for example. Let's say I'm doing this beautiful cube there. Okay, so beautiful cube. I will shade it, so let's make it lighter on top and like that there. So right now you have a basic shading. On top of that, what you're gonna do is you're gonna think about where your light is. So for example, let's say that mine is right here, you know, coming that way. Coming that way, there. And so what I will do is that I will take my lighted area, and I will add a little bit of gradient right here, just a small amount, you know, not too much, not anything crazy. And then I will take this area. Again, think about where the light is supposed to be, so coming from the top, a little bit of shadow at the opposite part. And then I will do the same for the shadow. So light is supposed to be coming from this side, and this is supposed to be a little bit more in the dark. And let's do a quick before and after, because right now it doesn't make much of a difference, but in the end it's exactly how the magic happened. So there. So before and after. See how much three-dimensional it looks. And if on top of that you add a layer, which will be a multiply of basically all this area is supposed to be in the shadow, not too harsh on the shadow, you know, and at the opposite overlay or color dodge, all this area is supposed to be in the light. It brings even more the three-dimensional look to life, you know, it's even more three-dimensional. So if I do a before and after, there, okay, we can see everything like that, and it's before after. See how much more volume there is, and it's basically what you need to do with your hair, because you already started wonderfully. You took every strings of hair and you are actually following your reference and being like, okay, so this area is lit, this area is dark, and then you're gonna have to add a little bit of overall lighting on top of that. So yeah, that's for the hair. This is gonna take a very long time, so I'm not gonna push it even further. You have the idea of how you're supposed to do it. For the clouds now, okay, so first of all I'm gonna take a good reference of cloud. I know you have one right here, and one of the things that you can observe is that your shadows are bluish, and it's something very important to take into consideration, is that you can have pink clouds but bluish shading shadows, sorry. And if you look at the transition, then you have a kind of pinkish color, and then you have a bit of white in the extremes. But yeah, the use of an overall, you know, you have to use more of a white color in that case, from your reference, for the base, so like this. And then you're gonna add a bit of this bluish tint, which will be still very light. And what you will do is that you will build it slowly. And so you're gonna do, oh okay, so I found a good reference which shows you a little bit better how cloud works. If you look at this reference right here, you will be able to see something which is that basically they kind of work like layers, you know. There is a clear layer here, right there, you know. There is a distinct delimitation between this part and then this area, and here it's super white, and then there is a little bit more darkness here, and then again there is a separation, and basically that's how you can build your clouds. By the way, you can do your foliage the same way. It's layers by layers on top of layers. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna again pick a bluish tint, very light, and I will build the shadows. I said bluish, thank you, like that, you know. And for now, I'm just doing, you know, kind of a bumpy, you know, sheep's kind of pattern, you know, like that. And then, okay, so yeah, better. And then there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blend. Give me a second. There. The red has to go here. There we go. And then you're gonna have to blend. There. And it's a basically they are soft. So you have to be hard on some places, you know, but you can't be too hard either. You have to be gentle, you know. And so yeah, blend. There, here, I'm gonna make it that way. There, shading on the exterior, or very bright white, depending of the contrast that you need to have, because here, right, for example, it would be better to have it very white against the skin. There. There you go. A little bit more shade. There, like that. Up. A little bit of pink between the lightest part and the shadows. Your pink, you know, this will makes it look pink. Even though you add a very little pink in the end, it will convey the idea that the cloud is pink. There. Okay, so like that. go. Again, another layer on top. Like that. A little bit of light, for example, here. There you go, a little bit more pink. And you can just do those layers on top of one another, and then in the end we're gonna do something to make them even stand against each other even more. There. And also be sure to, for example, add a little bit of shadows at the bottom of some parts, you know, because in the end those are objects which are lit from the top, you know. And try to be gentle with the transition. I went a little bit too hard on that one right here. Very white here. Better. There. And as you can see here, for example, it looks kind of grayish. It's because you need to make, first of all, you need to make your shadows quite blue. And second of all, it's very important that you do a little bit of this pink between the shadow and the white area. This is the only way for you to make it, to be sure that it won't look, you know, grayish. So it's super important. It's a little bit like skin. For example, you don't have a lot of subsurface scattering right here, and it's because your reference doesn't show much, but actually you would need a little bit of it, by the way. So I would add a tad, you know, just a tiny bit, like here, like that. Like that. And if you look before and after, I'm gonna lower it down a bit, but before, after, and see there's a lot more life to it. There. Even though here it kind of look a little bit too, there, better. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, for example, is I'm gonna do a soft brush, and I'm gonna try to blend a little bit more things together. There you go. And then I will select, for example, this area, you know, and I will do a gradient of white right here. And then I'm gonna make sure that the transition is not too hard. Again, those are clouds. They're not supposed to be that hard, you know. And I'm gonna do the same here. There. And then I'm gonna do a quick soft. This is the smudge tool. And then I'm gonna do a bit of bluish tint right here. There. And for example, like that. Okay, so like here. And then a little bit of this beautiful pink color, and again blend, blend, blend. And then once you have something like that, one of the things which is very important is that for now all you have is kind of planes, you know. You have one flat thing. Oops, my bad. Brush. So you have one flat things here and another one here, and so on and so on. And so it's not very three-dimensional. So what you need to do now is to think about where you're gonna have the underneath, the things which are seen from below, you know. So for example, those and those. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take again this beautiful blue and I'm gonna add it to blue. I'm gonna keep it more on the purple side. This is too harsh for the moment, but there you go. And I'm gonna lower down the opacity and again blend, blend, blend. You can do it that way, or you can do it a little bit like I just showed you, but thinking about it like, okay, so this is the underneath of some clouds, you know. There you go. And then if it's the underneath, then it's a great idea to add a little bit of a light just next to it, you know, like here. And then you start to think of things, you know, a little bit more like in volume. So for example, this is supposed to be like a bowl, you know, with the under here. And so here it's another bowl, and here it will be another bowl, and so on and so on and so on. And so it's now that you start to think a little bit more in 3 dimensions. There you go. There. And then add a bit of white here and there, like that. And don't forget, where you add your white, you have to add your pink also next to it. And of course, look at your reference, try to mimic what you see. But yeah, basically it's more or less that. So yeah, and you will end up with a very convincing and beautiful cloud there. And if you want it to be even pinkier, you're gonna have to add a little bit more pink to it. But for that, what I would suggest is, for example, to add color layer or overlay. I'm gonna try both. Okay, this brings light to it, so be careful with the use, and don't use it like all over, because otherwise you're gonna lose the beautiful bluish color that you have on your shadows. Just use it on the areas which are supposed to be more in the light, you know, like this, and so it will allow the shadows to be bluish while making the more lit area pink. So just be careful of that. And yeah, be gentle with it. Try to add more, erase some, and what you can use at the end is you can use a color balance on top of everything and push a little bit, for example, your blues for what's dark, and for what's light a little bit more your red, and there you go. And of course apply it only to the clouds area. So for example here, I'm gonna erase all of that here right now. There you go. There. And let's say you want them to be even darker, a little bit more like what you did right here. What you can do is you can select your cloud and then add a level layer on top, and oops, my bad, opposite. And if you tweak the settings, like pushing the darks, and there you go, it's gonna completely ruin your saturation, but you can lower down your saturation after. So push it there, not trying to be too harsh. Of course it may need some adjustments, so maybe do it before, like that. Yeah, better. Okay. Like this, for example. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a layer of saturation and colors in saturation. I'm gonna desaturate a bit. And what I'm gonna do is that since I lost a little bit this kind of, you know, this kind of subsurface scattering, I'm gonna add a color layer on top to bring it back. So for example, here, there, and here, and here, and here, there. And I will do a color selection, selective correction, and I will take the blues, and I will be sure to lit them up a bit. Oh, it's not blues, it's purple. Okay, so I'm gonna there you go, make them a little bit lighter because right now they are very dark. And I'm gonna also add a bit of magenta to it, trying, you know, cyan, no, yeah, just like that. Okay, better. And then of course, since you adjust a few things, you're gonna have sometimes to repaint some elements here and there to make sure they blend, they work correctly together. It's completely normal, you know. And so yeah, like here, there you go. Blending things, blah blah blah. And you know, you can even add a little layer of things which are just completely light on top of the things which are darker. And again, treat it a little bit like foliage. And there you go. And don't forget to erase the part which can be like that catch too much the attention, because in the end your subject is your character. So try to make sure, does this have too much contrast, or is it okay? Do I need to change the color here? Do I need to make it softer here and there and there, and so on and so on, and just checking. Like, this is why I use this, for example, this navigation. It will tells me immediately if there is something that catches too much attention. And right here it's a little bit too hard, too, you know, too contrasty. So yeah, I'm gonna blend a tad like that. Oh, it was better before. Okay, going back. There you go. And yeah, here you go. You got a cloud. So I hope it was helpful. And so thank you to the two person who asked for feedbacks. I'm very glad that I could help. And let's do a quick before and after. I'm gonna just lower down this a tad, and I'm gonna you know what, I preferred more cotton candy like in color, and I'm gonna lower down this one a bit. Okay, there you go. A quick before and after, so before and after. So yeah, that's how you do clouds. I hope it was helpful, and again, thank you again for the person who actually suggest their work for me to do a Paintover, and I hope you learn something and that you will be able to apply it in the future in your painting. So I hope everyone have a wonderful day, and I see you in the next live, and hope that more people can actually show me their work so I can do more feedbacks. And I see you next time, everyone. Bye. Bye.